Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Celena and I am part of the team here at Test Innovators. The focus of today's webinar is how to read your ISEE score report. To start, I would like to share a little bit about what we do here at Test Innovators. We've helped over 100,000 students prepare for standardized tests and get into the most selective schools. We also work with many tutoring companies, educational consultants, and schools. Today, we will be covering how the ISEE is scored, the score report, how schools use those scores, and some frequently asked questions. Throughout the webinar, feel free to type questions in the Q&A. If we have time at the end, I'll answer those questions. If there are any that I don't get to, I'll be sure to email you a response along with the webinar recording. Before we talk about the score report, it's important to understand how the ISEE is scored. The first step in scoring is calculating the raw score. This is quite simple. Students receive 1 point for each correct answer and no points for incorrect or unanswered questions. Once a raw score has been calculated for each section, it is converted into a scaled score. This conversion adjusts for variation in difficulty between different tests. Thus, a lower raw score on a harder test could give you the same scaled score as a higher raw score on an easier test. This process is called equating. Students receive one scaled score for each of the 4 sections: verbal reasoning, reading comprehension, quantitative reasoning, and mathematics achievement. The scaled score ranges from 760 to 940. Next, the percentile score for each section is calculated. Percentiles compare a student's performance to all other same grade students from the past 3 years. For example, a 40th percentile indicates that a student scored the same or higher than 40% of students in the same grade, but lower than 59% of students. Finally, the percentile is converted into a Stanine score. Notice that the percentile ranges for the middle Stanines of 4 through 6 are far larger than the ranges for the extreme Stanines of 1, 2, 8, or 9. This means that most students taking the ISEE achieve scores in the middle range. Only the top 3% of all test takers receive a Stanine of 9 on any given section, while 20% of students receive a Stanine of 5. Next, we'll talk about the score report. There are 3 main parts to the report. The first is the student information section. It's important to verify that the information in this section is correct. Next is the test profile, and finally the analysis. The test profile shows the scaled score, percentile, and Stanine score for each section. You'll also see a Stanine analysis, which indicates your projected Stanine range. Stanines are the primary number that schools use. In the analysis section, you will see a more detailed breakdown. Each section is broken into question types, and to the right, plus signs and minus signs indicate which questions were answered correctly and incorrectly. If a student left any questions blank, there would be an S, and if a student didn't reach all of the questions, these unreached questions at the end of the section would be marked N. ISEE sections are ordered by difficulty, except for the reading section, and the score report reflects this. Thus, the first question within a subsection was the easiest one, and the last question was the hardest. Score reports show whether students missed easy questions toward the beginning of a subsection or harder questions toward the end. Next, we'll talk about how schools use ISEE scores. Students apply from many different schools, so the best way to compare applicants is with a standardized test, like the ISEE. It's important to keep in mind there are many parts to an application. With that being said, we have seen that low scores can be an obstacle to admissions, especially for competitive schools that receive a large number of applications. The best way to analyze your scores is in the context of the schools you're applying to, because the scores schools typically accept differ from school to school. Our website has data on score ranges that have historically made students competitive applicants at different schools. These are designed to provide directional information, but are by no means absolute. Being in the green range does not guarantee acceptance, nor does being in the red range guarantee rejection. I'll send the link to the target scores page in the email with the recording. All right, let's talk about some frequently asked questions. How soon will I receive my score report? You'll be able to see your score report within 2 weeks of your test date. You can access your scores by logging into your ERB account. Can I see the scores before sending it to schools? Yes. If you test or may test more than once, we recommend that you wait until you see the score reports before sending them to schools. When you register for the test, you don't have to select score recipients. Instead, you can add recipients anytime free of charge through your ERB account. If I test more than once, can I send only the best score for each section? This is commonly known as superscoring. No. Though some schools may choose to do this as they review student score reports, the admissions offices will be able to see the complete score report for each test you choose to send. Is the essay section scored? No. Instead, a copy of your essay is sent along with your score report. Although it is not given a score, the essay section is important because it is used by the admissions team to help them assess your writing skills. Will my score report show that I tested with accommodations? No. Score reports do not indicate whether or not the test was taken with accommodations. Why are my ISEE scores lower than my usual standardized test scores? ISEE test takers tend to be high performers, and a 50th percentile score means that you're testing right in the middle of this talented pack. How long are scores valid? Scores are valid through the current testing year, which is August 1st to July 31st. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A. We are here to help. You can check out our site at ISEEpracticetest.com or feel free to contact us with any questions. We are here 7 days a week. I recommend checking out our free ISEE prep guide. It has everything you need to know about the test, as well as tips and strategies for each section. I will send a link to our ISEE prep guide in the email with the webinar recording. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for joining us today.